Morning, Armor Down. Bear with me a little bit. I'm updating my tech, so I'm still learning how this all works. So I'm kind of getting this squared away. Give me a second. Pretty neat how this all works. Anyway, good morning, Armor Down. I hope you slept well. I slept fine. Anyway, let's train some attention today. The way we're going to dovetail into today is through the same thing we tried to do yesterday, but the tech failed, so sorry about that. Anyway, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk again about the trigger press, okay? The idea that you can train attention is as old as marksmanship. We've been doing it since we were throwing rocks, since we were shooting bows and arrows, since we were firing weapons, and even to modern day. And the place that's inside the training already, that's directly connected to the mindfulness practice, is the trigger press. So I've got my firearm here. Now, of course, we're going to go through the proper safety procedures before we use it, but we're going to use this to emphasize the skill sets that you already have. So you already have the skill sets surrounding the trigger press. You already, most likely, especially if you're in the Army, have the skill sets associated with tying your breath to the trigger press. But what you probably haven't kind of really taken in is how you can take that same skill set and apply it to the new objective of mindfulness meditation. So let's jump right in. First things first, always assume the weapon's loaded. So let's rack it. Okay, let's take the magazine out. We can see that the magazine is empty. Put that back in there if we want. Now we're going to actually feel and look using our senses. Last week this was the second day of the first week's practice. We're using our senses. How do you know it's not loaded? Well, you look and you actually touch and feel. Now this isn't loaded. So now we know we have a weapon that is harmless, other than it's a blunt object. Anyway, here we've got the weapon. Now we're going to tie it to the actual skill set itself. So when we train mindful marksmanship, what we do is we encourage people to, or we show people how to first set their stance. So we've gone through essentially bell 1. Now we're going to bell 2, which is setting up the stance. As you'll remember from last week, that gets broken into chunks: ground, pelvis, core, heart space, throat, head. Remember, the body points the weapon. Okay? So now we come out here. And when this happens, when we're in a presentation and we're ready to fire, okay, the finger goes onto the trigger, okay? Now what you do is you take out the slack. And what that means is you pull the trigger all the way back to the point of about to fire, okay? You pull the trigger all the way back, you take a breath, and then as you exhale, you slowly exhale. and the trigger falls. The trigger falls and it's a surprise. It's you're calming the body on the exhale. The exhale calms the body, and then you press the trigger to the real slow. It's a very mindful action. It's incredibly mindful. There's no other way to look at it. You've got the skill to bring your focus from everything else right down to the relationship between your body and your breath. It's a skill you already have. So let's go over one more time. So first, you've already checked that the weapon is safe. You go through your ground, your pelvis, your core, your heart space, your throat, your head. The weapon comes out. Finger goes to the trigger. Take your breath in. Take the slack out and exhale. See that? No movement with the weapon. This is actually a practice we teach in the Mindful Marksmanship program, where if you can pull that trigger without the weapon moving, then you've got the skill, right? The skill set's down. But, and this is where the breath comes in, without the psychological and emotional control required to handle the fact that the weapon's exploding in your hand, you can still jerk the trigger. Now, some people may say, well, I can't pay attention, or I'm scatterbrained, or this, that, and the other. It's okay, because it can be trained. A lot of people think of their attention or how to pay attention as something that I'm just this, or I'm just that, or I can't hope to do anything about it. That's just not the case. We know for a fact, especially as veterans, that you can train your psychological and emotional control to shoot a weapon that literally explodes in your hand. I mean, the bullet's propelled by an explosion. So when you're out here and there's no load, there's no bullet in the chamber, it's okay because you know it's not there. But if there was, and we actually have drills to help simulate this, if there was, you'd be contending with the fact that your mind knows what's happening. So you know that there's a round that possibly will go off. And so what's happened is you'll actually get tense. You'll get tense by something taking place in the future. That's what makes this all so difficult, is your thoughts, your thinking can actually influence you from the future in the present, because you know what's going to happen. And so this is what makes PTSD so difficult, is your mind, for example, your mind can go back into the past and project into the future so that you're not actually present when you're engaging with what's going on. You're actually engaging with a memory or an expectation. So getting into the present moment and staying focused is a fundamental part of psychological and emotional control. And so we teach that here by this relationship between the firearm, the trigger press, and the breath. So we'll do it one more time. Slack out. Exhale. Weapon didn't move. All right, let's put this away. And we're going to take this down to the ground and just build it into the practice. Okay? Same skill set, different objective. All right, so I am going to move my little screen over here, which is super neat. The new tech is cool. I'm slowly understanding how it works. Now remember, when you get old, it's always good to make everything an extra sense of exertion, right? Learned that from my dad. But this new tech I've got is pretty neat. I can, watch this, I can can zoom right in. Now, how do I zoom in and stay there? So I'm trying to figure out how to stay on the zoomed in. I don't know if that'll stay or not. Yeah, see, it keeps jumping back out. You have to bear with me. I'm in. All right. Well, I'll do the best I can here. All right. So follow your cues for comfort. I will edit this out as I figure it out. But if you put in your cues for comfort, or follow your cues for comfort, that'll give you the setup to get yourself in your most comfortable position. Remember, that's the key piece. It's not some kind of magical posture. What's the most important part about your seated posture is comfort and ease. So use extra pillows. Don't worry if it doesn't, look cool. That doesn't matter at all. What matters is that you're comfortable. So, once you've gotten comfortable, we'll follow the 4 bells, okay? Bell 1. What jumps out according to your senses? If your eyes are open, there's always opportunity for light and shadow. Light and shadow is always interesting to notice. There's always an aspect of light and shadow that you didn't notice before. And so if you just look around and look for light and shadow and how it's playing around in the room that you're in, your mind will be curious enough to kind of come into the present moment. Layers of shadow, depth of shadow. And once you play with that for a moment, kind of settle in, you shift. You kind of, if you want, you close your eyes. Otherwise, you could just cast your eyes down a little bit. Shift to another sense. So for me, the next thing that shows up is sense of touch and also sense of sound. Sense of touch is it's cold. I can feel the cold on my hands. Sense of sound, I can hear the heater behind me. And by bringing my focus to those things and only those things, I'm reinforcing my relationship to the present moment. I'm staying in the present moment by focusing on something I know takes place in the present moment, which are my senses. I'm going to check in with my sense of taste, how much there, my sense of smell, Pretty neutral, not a lot going on there, but just going through all the senses, sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, just as part of the practice. Okay? Now we're going to bell 2. Bell 2 is all about getting to the body. And so the first thing I'm going to pay attention to is my ground, what's beneath me. And the first thing I'll notice is that what's beneath me is discomfort. So I'm going to adjust to create a more comfortable setup. This isn't no pain, no gain. You get to decide what's most comfortable, and there's no reason to stay in a position that's uncomfortable. So set your ground. If it's comfortable, stay how you are, but if it can be improved, improve it. Find a little bit more comfort. From there, move up into the pelvis. Okay, that's the base of the spine. And essentially, it's like getting a sit rep. You know, how's it going there? And if you need some feedback, you can shift or move a little bit. Give a little wobble. That'll create some sensation in the region. Looking for good base, solid base. From there, come up to the core. For me, the core is typically constricted in some form or fashion. And I've noticed that it's not just constricted in terms of muscles. Sometimes it's constricted by kind of gas or bloat from what I've eaten. You know, so having a relationship to your core is more than just musculature. Having a connection there, knowing what's going on. Find the setup that feels good for you today, and then move up to the heart space. Heart space, shoulder blades, collarbones, okay? Feel free to move around a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to feel the body engage a little. You might be able to feel the fabric of your clothing against your skin. I noticed as I'm moving, the cold kind of got in under the shirt even more. So I really feel the cold, and I feel it all the way on my arms, tingly. 1, and then into bell 2 as you start to get more settled in. And that's what happens when you kind of trigger what's called the parasympathetic side of your nervous system. It's the side of your nervous system that stimulates the rest and relaxation response. So this quiet, this focus, this ease offers increased awareness, increased attention on subtlety, or the increased potential for attention on subtlety. And a place I like to just double check how close or dialed in I am is my throat. So if you take a swallow, it's pretty easy to feel the swallow, but can you feel the parts of the swallow, the beginning, the middle, and the end? The beginning is quite sensational, the middle is down the throat, and the end is it just disappears. So just notice that. Create a swallow. And once you've done that, try seeing if you can feel the breath moving up and down in your throat. From there, travel up to the top of the head, top of the spine. Alert and relaxed. So you don't want, as lengthened as you can, and you don't want no length at all. You want where it's comfortable today. And then to finish up bell 2, we're going to hack the vagus nerve with our face. So first, soften the face, relax the muscles behind the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, the chin, and then add a little wry smile. Do you have a secret you know that you're not going to tell me? It's just a little smile. It's a hack for the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve has offshoots. So it's called the wandering nerve. But one of the offshoots is it goes into the face, and your face is receiving information from the rest of your body, and your face is giving information to the rest of your body. And so the vagus nerve really relates to communication, how we're feeling at the face. So you can hack the vagus nerve by putting a little smile on your face, and you can actually increase a little bit of sense of calmness and ease just by putting a little smile on the face. Okay, let's go to bell 3, and this is the emphasis of today's training, getting to the breath. So, just notice your breath where it is. Now max it out. Take it in as big as you can take it. And let it go slow. This time, take it in as big as you can take it and see if you can feel your body move as you breathe. Now, to stimulate the same kind of skill set of the trigger press, we're going to practice inhaling on the movement of the thumb and the forefinger. The thumb and the pointer finger, okay? So you're going to practice breathing in to open the finger and breathing out to close it. So it looks like this. It's actually harder than you think to perfectly tie the end of the exhale to the touching of the fingers. So you keep your hands back on your knees, and 3 times, inhale, open the fingertips, exhale, close it. And you'll see how close and refined and perfectly kind of the skill to really put your attention into a precise moment. There's nothing else to focus on by just practicing the trigger finger breath. So when you're ready, inhale, open the fingers, exhale, close them, match the end of your exhale perfectly to the touching of your fingertips, and we'll do that 3 times on your own. Harder than you think. I hope you can feel just how dialed in, how focused you get when you breathe out at the exact same pace as your fingertips close. All right, let's move to 4th bell. Feel free to put your hands in a prayer position. Maybe that's closed fingertips, maybe that's pointed fingertips. You know, for our purposes, let's do hands wrapped together for gratitude. Okay, so think of this as gratitude is really the practice of hope achieved. So, it's hope that has come true. This is the feeling of I've got this. This is the feeling of good things have already happened. And so when you think about what you're grateful for, you can start really simply with really simple things. Like, I always think about my pocket knife. Like, I've got the same pocket knife I carried in Iraq. The fact that it's there, it still works the exact same way I needed it. It did at the beginning when I bought it. I'm just very grateful for that. So think about, for you, what are you grateful for? It could be really simple, really local. Okay? So that's the closed fingers. That's the kind of the tight. You kind of get that. That's for you, right? That's gratitude for you. So you cultivate that a little bit, and then switch to the fingers pointed up and out. Maybe even lean it out a little bit, just a sense of outwardness. And this is if you want to, you can go into a mindful moment of compassion. And that's where you put your attention on the suffering of others and express the goodwill that you have inside yourself towards them. And so this is entirely your call. It could be prayer for you, it could be anything. But express your sense of goodwill outward through the form of compassion. And for me, my thoughts are on the soldiers and their families who are deployed to the capital. I'm optimistic that everything will go fine, but I know, for example, my aunt, her son is there. And I know in her mind she's experiencing all these terrible fantasies or terrible thoughts of something going on at the Capitol and her son being there having to deal with it. And so I send my goodwill out to him, and I send my peace of mind out to her, and I just offer them my goodwill and the expression of a mindful moment of compassion. Be intentional about how you finish. 2 breaths, the second exhale finishes. All right. Well, let's hope the tech did okay. I know there's a lot to see in this screen, and I'm learning about the tech, so bear with me. Anyway, good training today, Armor Down. Bear with me on developing the tech. I hope you don't mind all the changing of the screen, etc., etc. I'll figure it out. It'll get better. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. And look at that. And we'll see you tomorrow.